Today on America's Court with Judge Ross.
I didn't, purposely injure him or make him fall or anything. He just fell on his own.
You were just ticked off. You were just minding your own business, and this is how this goes down.
Scared the hell out of him.
Stop. In my courtroom, it's about equity and fairness. You want him to pay $628.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, knock my socks off. Justice should be more than just some foreign concept. I actually want you to learn something. The law talks about something may in fact be true, but can they prove it? And that's what's tough.
Fair, firm, compassionate. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. Dean Bakers claims he got into a car accident after his car was hit with water balloons by the defendant's son. Mr. Baker is suing Tabitha Long in the amount of $875. Ms. Long says she doesn't owe the plaintiff any money and claims Mr. Bakers threatened her son and caused him to sprain his wrist. Ms. Long is countersuing for $750.
All rise. Remain standing and come to order. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Kevin Ross presiding.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated.
All parties been sworn, Your Honor.
Third, good Deputy Thomas. Mr. Bakers, you weren't happy with this water balloon that hit another vehicle that caused you to collide with that vehicle.
Exactly.
The $875 that you're suing for, that's the monies that you were out of pocket?
Yes, that's to cover the actual damage to my car and the car that I ran into.
And Ms. Long, you're countersuing for $750 because Mr. Baker's here injured your son, and this is Jacob.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Jacob, I want to start with you. What happened here?
Okay, so me and two other kids from school were like, this summer we want to do something really fun. It's hot where we live, so we all came together and we were like, we should go have some fun, dry off with some water balloons.
All right, you are with two other friends, and you decide it's hot.
Yeah.
You're going to get some water balloons for who?
Just to have some fun with some
each
friends.
other?
Yeah.
It started with you and the other two boys, I take it?
Yeah.
These are boys that you've known for a while?
We were just acquaintances from school
All
that
right,
were
but
close
you've
together.
known them for some period of time. Mom, do you know who these boys are?
I've met them, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And how do we go from you three playing with water balloons to water balloons being thrown at cars?
There's a slope down by the busy street, and we decided that it would be fun to see who could throw the water balloon the farthest.
Tell me what you decided.
So I was like, maybe we should try and see who could hit the tree the first. But one of my friends was like, no, that's going to be too easy for us.
All right, there was a conversation, because the other boys aren't here.
Yeah.
The conversation started with, let's see who can hit the tree from the farthest distance. And we went from trees to cars.
No, not cars. There's this little slope where we were playing with water balloons, and we just started chucking it to see who could do it the farthest.
Okay. And as you're chucking it, is it in the direction of where cars are operating?
No, there's this hill by the street, and we're on the other side of the hill.
Okay.
And we're throwing it at the hill.
Okay. And then what happened?
And then we continued to throw the hill. We really got excited about it. Like, it was kind of like...
Don't tell me what the other boys got excited about. Tell me what you got excited about.
I was really excited because this was one of the first times, like, me and my friends, like, we really had a good time in a long time.
Okay. How do we get to the point where water balloons are impacting cars?
We never...
Don't tell me about we, tell me about you.
I never intended or even thought about hitting a car. I was just having some fun with water balloons, and it just so happens, I don't know if it was my balloon or my other friend's balloons, that it hit a car.
Okay. And then what happened?
And then Mr. Bakers was on top of the hill yelling at us like, someone hit my car, who did it, I want to know. And we were laughing because we couldn't believe that we hit the car. We were like,
Don't
really?
tell me about we, tell me about you. You were laughing because you couldn't believe that one of the balloons hit the car.
Yes.
Okay.
I couldn't believe it.
This gentleman says one of those balloons hit my car. Right? How old are you?
I am 13 years old.
Okay. If an adult says your fun has caused some sort of damage, what do you think you're supposed to do at that point?
Apologize and be respectful.
Is that what you did?
No.
What did you do?
I was laughing and being rude to him.
Okay.
And then...
Stop. Mom,
Yes.
talk to me.
He's a very good kid. I mean,
I'm not talking about whether or not he's a good kid. I'm talking about this situation.
this situation. Well, first
Because
of all,
this situation, not so good.
no, I agree, and I understand the gravity of it. I've taken away several privileges. You know, his iPhone's gone, his computer's gone. We know that this was a bad thing. However, first of all, there's no way that Mr. Bakers can know that it was his water balloon that hit his car.
Let's assume that's true.
Okay.
He is with 2 other boys. You know these boys.
Yes.
You know that something happened as a result of water balloons. We're not talking about 200 kids. We're talking about 3.
Right.
Was there a conversation with the other boys' parents as to, all right, something went down, somebody's going to fess up as to who threw the balloon so we can be responsible and lead by example? Did that take place?
No, it did not.
Stop. That's a problem.
Coming up on America's Court.
You know, I approach him, I start running up to him, and then as soon as I get to him, they just like split up in 3 different directions. So I used to run track, so I'm really fast.
In other words, you were like, you're going to learn today.
Exactly.
Closed captioning provided by. If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. America's Court is back with the case of Dean Bakers, who is suing Tabitha Long for $875.
Your vehicle hit by the balloon, or was it the other vehicle?
I ran into the vehicle, and then after I ran into it, then I got hit by another water balloon, hit the side of my car. So I was driving down the street.
Yes.
It was probably around 6 p.m., and it was 35 miles an hour, and I was just going with the speed of traffic, and then I noticed that there's these 3 kids on the side of the road, and they're throwing water balloons. And so when they threw one at the car in front of me, he, you know, kind of started swerving, and then
The car in front of you swerved.
Yeah, he just started swerving, and then he stopped abruptly, and so that caused me to run into the back of him. And right when I ran into him, another water balloon hit the side of my car. So at that time, then I hop out of the car, and I'm like, you know, I'm mad, of course. I'm yelling at the kids, yo, why did you do this? Look what you did. And I'm trying to get them to understand, you know, this could have been way worse than it was. Like, somebody could have actually died here. And they're just, like, laughing and pointing fingers and stuff. So, you know, I approach them, I start running up to him, and then as soon as I get to him, they just, like, split up in 3 different directions. So I used to run track, so I'm really fast.
In other words, you were like, you're going to learn today.
Exactly. Somebody had to.
And you caught the slowest one.
I caught the slowest one, exactly.
And that happened to be Jacob.
Unfortunately.
You could only catch one, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, so I caught Jacob, and at first he started, you know, trying to get away, and I kind of had him by his jacket, and he kind of squirmed out of it, and that's when he fell. I didn't, you know, purposely injure him or make him fall or anything. He just fell on
You were
his own.
just ticked off. You were just minding your own business, and this is how this goes down.
Scared the hell out of him.
Stop. Yes, someone should have had the hell scared out of them. That would be the drivers. Operating a vehicle and something just hits you out of nowhere. Yes, that would scare the hell out of me. I want to show you something, Jacob. Because when I read this case, I thought, this is so interesting. This is my personal phone. And I want you, Deputy Thomas, to show Jacob and Jacob's mom. There's a picture. You see the picture?
Yes.
What's the picture of, Jacob?
2 kids.
2 kids. You know where I have that picture of these 2 kids on my phone, Jacob?
No.
Because I didn't even know I was getting this case. You can hand it back. But a couple of days ago, I was running an errand. And I was in a shopping plaza. And I'm exiting the plaza trying to go onto the street. And these 2 jerks stop in front of my car and won't move. And they're just laughing and laughing. And then they have some sort of device, because this one, I'm not going to show them on national TV because I'm going to find them, has this device, and the device is just yelling out vulgarities. And they're playing the device and taping me to watch my reaction to that. Why do you think I showed you that?
Because it's a similar situation to what happened with me.
How so?
Because it's a different point of view of where I was having a good time, where to Mr. Baker's wasn't.
Right. So with these two young men, finally I was like, I can run them over. You know, Boss Ross wasn't going to do that.
That would not look good.
Finally, I was like, okay, guys. I get out the car, and they start talking, and I was like, I don't have time. Ain't nobody got time for this. And I drive, and it just so happens the direction that I'm driving, they end up walking, and this is a long light, and they end up walking right up to me. And I went, smile, and I took a picture of them, and they started running, and I was like, I'm a deputy sheriff, and I'm going to find you. And it scared them. I didn't break their arm, though.
Coming up on America's Court with Judge Ross.
And you have the stigma of being a criminal at 13. Ha, ha, ha.
Closed captioning provided by. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. America's Court is back with the case of Dean Bakers, who is suing Tabitha Long for $875.
And that's what happened to him.
Well, I didn't break his arm. They said that it was more of a sprain, but
Is that what happened?
That wasn't
The situation between
It was
Mr.
a
Baker
sprain.
and Jay.
It was a
sprained his
sprain.
hand.
We had to go to the hospital.
All right, let's
for
talk about
X-rays.
his injury. What happened?
Once,
No, Mom, let me hear from Mom. I
Okay.
think I've heard enough from you, young man.
Okay. From what I understand, he ran after Mr. Baker started chasing him. He was frightened. He ran, and he caught the corner of his jacket, and he tried to kind of squirm out of it to keep running because he didn't know what the guy was going to do. He doesn't know this man. He doesn't know if he has bad intentions. You know, he could be out to kidnap him for all he knows.
Because we clearly know that these boys had bad intentions. But
Nevertheless,
of course,
he
you know,
was trying to get away from him,
right,
and he was doing
trying
everything
to
he
get
could.
away from accepting the consequences of his actions.
But he's a kid, and he was frightened.
I understand that.
So, I mean,
Kids also have to learn the consequences of their actions.
Well-
There are a lot of kids in juvenile hall right now
well, and like I
learning
said,
the consequences of their actions because it was a crime.
and as I said
It was an
before, we did
assault.
punish.
And it was destruction of property. And you could have been charged for it. And you could be sitting in kiddie jail. And now you're not laughing. Now you're experiencing 3 hots in a cot as a 13-year-old with a record that affects you unless you can get it sealed. And you have the stigma of being a criminal at 13. Ha, ha, ha.
Coming up on America's Court.
No adult should
No,
be
but-
putting their hand on my child.
Okay?
That's,
And no child should be throwing balloons at moving cars.
I agree. I agree.
Closed captioning provided by. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. America's Court is back with the case of Dean Bakers, who is suing Tabitha Long for $875.
What disturbs me about this case is he knows who the other kids are. Why hasn't there been something where everyone sits down and goes, let's figure this out? Mom?
I don't have that much communication with these families, to be honest with
I
you.
don't care.
I've met the children. I just.
You know who they are. You know they go to school with him. That's one conversation with the school. I need to see this person and this person. I need to talk to their parents. We're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to go to this man. We're going to apologize. We're going to show them by example, this is how you handle when you're wrong. Because kids make mistakes. This is not the way to handle it, that it has come down to this.
Well, and I certainly agree that I should talk to the parents. And
Right. Because the energy that you should have put towards that, you put towards suing him for injuring your child.
Well, I'm countersuing him. He
Right.
sued me first. But yes, I have a medical bill to pay because he was
He
rough with
sued
my
you
child. He put
first
his hands on my
because of the
child.
damage that he sustained as a result of the activity of Jacob and the other two
But
boys.
no adult should be putting their hand on my child.
Okay, and no child should be throwing balloons at moving cars.
I agree. I agree.
Your Honor, just let me say that I didn't make him sprain his arm. He sprained his arm by running away. And that had nothing, I wasn't in any kind of contact with him.
You know what, in the situation that I talked about, which is why I made it a point to say it, I was getting a little riled up. But in the overall scheme of things, I was able to go, but it's a joke. And I get it. I remember being young and doing stupid things and being silly. That's a whole different thing where you got cars colliding with each other and people possibly being injured and destruction of property and then not owning up to it.
Judge Ross's verdict when America's Court returns. You're watching America's Court with Judge Ross. This is America's Court with Judge Ross.
I still just don't see how he can prove that it was my son's water balloon, A, and B, that, you know, he was following close enough to hit the car.
Here's what you're saying. I know my son was involved in criminal behavior, but because he wasn't the one that actually threw it, I'm relieved of this.
No.
Because no then means, Jacob, what are the names of the boys? I'm going to talk to their parents. We're going to go to Mr. Baker. We're going to sit down. We're going to show you all how you're going to be doing a lot of chores. You're going to be doing a lot of making lemonade and delivering papers and washing cars and all, whatever it costs, because that is not okay. Because I guarantee you, Jacob, if I were on the side of the road and I was throwing balloons while your mom was driving and she got into a collision and something happened to her, then what would you do? How would you feel?
I would be just as Mr. Baker's is.
Exactly. You are going to get the $875. You will be paying the $875. Now, if you want to then go sue the other parents and figure out which of the three should be paying you, knock yourself out. As it pertains to the $750 for Jacob's injuries as a result of this man just trying to detain him and he falling, based on his testimony, he's very credible. He presents himself well. I don't get the sense he was trying to harm the child, but he was trying to make him accountable. It's a lesson that you got to learn today. But we're not done, because we still have the issue of the apology to this man, to the other person driving the vehicle, and the other two friends of yours. We'll start with you. Anything you want to say to Mr. Bakers? Look at him and tell him.
Mr. Bakers, I'm sorry that I caused a car accident.
Okay? That'll do for now. $875 is your judgment. Nothing for you. We're done.
All rise.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant has been ordered to pay $875.
I'm just relieved the judge ruled in my favor, and I hope Jacob and his friends learned their lesson from this.
At first, I thought it was harmless, but now I know throwing water balloons at cars is a bad idea.
Follow America's Court on Facebook and Twitter.
He wanted to make a viral video, Your Honor. You know, he wanted to be famous.
I did want to make a video.
Okay, now see, I was starting to move in your direction. Who was videotaping this?
Me, I set up a camera on a tripod.
So you want to be entertained in addition to being dad. The whole purpose behind law is to right wrong. I want justice to be something that isn't this foreign concept.
Justice knows no boundaries. The truth will be heard. Fair, firm, compassionate. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. Addison Mansell is suing Scott Mansell in the amount of $1,450. Ms. Mansell claims her brother, Mr. Mansell, used his car to remove her son's tooth. Mr. Mansell claims he called a dentist to make sure the method he was using was correct.
All rise. Remain standing and come to order. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Kevin Ross presiding.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated.
All parties been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Deputy Thomas. You're suing your brother because something happened to your little boy. What happened to your son?
I'm suing my brother because about 6 months ago I incurred medical expenses because my brother decided it would be a good idea to pull my son's tooth out with a car.
Right, with a car.
Yes.
You decided to pull the tooth out with a car.
Sure, yeah.
What made you decide to do that?
A tooth needs to come out when it gets loose. The little
Yes.
boy's going to lose a lot of teeth. I wanted his first one to have a big impression on him. And I'm a mechanic. I know
This
cars.
was his first tooth that he was losing.
First one coming out, yeah.
And you thought it needed to be a show.
Yeah, make it fun for him.
And what exactly did you do?
I tied a little bit of 10-pound test fishing line to his tooth, handle of the car, and then I didn't even get it over 10 miles an hour. I just sort of pumped the gas and he yanked out.
You didn't
his
even
thing.
get it over 10 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And that yank caused the tooth to come out.
Yeah, just like when you shut the door and the string's attached, you know. Any of
I
those.
have heard of that,
Yeah.
yes. I've heard of someone, you know, I mean, I've had to pull out a few teeth, and you had an issue with it.
Yeah, I mean, my son could have gotten hurt aside from all the medical expenses that I incurred.
Well,
you
we know he didn't get hurt, but yeah, if I could have, would have, should have, that's not why we're here. He didn't get hurt as a result of the car. You're claiming that something happened to his mouth as a result, though.
I went to the doctor, and they suggested that I put in a bridge. They put in an implant.
Oh, he had to have a bridge and an implant.
And a mouth guard.
And a mouth guard. Your brother is serving as sort of that father figure.
I've been this baby's dad since he came into this world.
What's the boy's name?
Kenny.
What's the relationship between you and Kenny?
Me and Kenny, I'm the best uncle in the world. That's our relationship.
Well, are you the only uncle?
Yeah.
It's easy to be the best when you're the only. Huh?
Right.
All right. And does your son Kenny spend a lot of time with your brother?
Yes, they spend a lot of time together. Scott picks him up from school occasionally. They hang out, takes him out to the ball games and that sort of thing.
Well, then, if he is assuming this father figure role, and you are okay with it, what's the relationship between the two of you?
She's my sister.
Well, I know that, but she's also your sister who's suing you. I mean, why did it have to come to this? Why did you all have to come here to work this out?
Scott's a bit of a wild one. He has a Mustang. He's into those muscle cars. He doesn't have any children of his own.
All right.
So, yes, he's a nice role model for my son, but he's definitely not the brightest and most mature adult.
Okay. Why couldn't you all resolve this without coming to court? You don't feel as though you should have to pay for the injuries that the child sustained?
Not at all. There were no injuries sustained.
But there were medical bills.
There were bills sustained.
Would those medical bills have resulted from just the tooth falling out naturally?
No, they wouldn't.
How do you know that?
Well, they were roughhousing about 6 months ago, and that's when my son came running into the kitchen saying, "Mama, my tooth is loose." Apparently, he whacked himself into the wall.
Is that true?
Our roughhousing was well timed. That tooth was about to get loose on its own.
All right. And do you have a background in dentistry?
I don't. But
He's a
my
mechanic.
girlfriend,
He's a mechanic.
Yes.
my
Okay.
girlfriend is a dental professional, and I consulted her.
Step forward, man. And your last name?
James.
James. And so tell me about your background as it pertains to dentistry.
So I've been working as a dentist hygienist for over 5 years now.
Okay.
And I've been with Scott for 3.
All right.
And prior to Scott doing this, he actually called me.
And he consulted with you saying what?
So he called me and he explained that Kenny's tooth was getting loose. So I was actually...
Well, it was already loose at that point, right?
Yes, but he just wanted to double check.
How would he be able to double check with you if you're not there to see the tooth?
I went over for dinner that night and I had a look at Kenny's tooth.
Okay.
They didn't tell me they were planning on doing this.
Okay. Do you have children?
No.
If you had children, would you want to know if there's conversations going on about your child that you're not aware of?
Yes, I believe I would.
So you understand where his sister's coming from.
I do, but at the end of the
When
day...
you say but, you negate what you just said. As opposed to saying, yes, she's his mom, period. Yes, we should have consulted, period. He was okay. But when you say, but he was okay, it's like, well, then I don't care that it was his mom. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
All right. And that's the whole issue, right? Because you're like, if you're having a discussion and you're doing all that, hello, mom is right here. right?
Right. I mean, I don't think there was like intention to.
No, I don't get that sense either. And part of the conversation that I'm having is not just even with you all, but for anyone watching. You know, there's certain things that sometimes we just take for granted. When you're a parent, everything's a big deal when it comes to your child.
Thank you.
And you all don't have children, so you may not be as sensitive to that.
But Judge, I'm with this boy every day of his life. I pick him up from school the majority of the time. Mom works a lot trying to make ends meet. I'm basically this boy's father in all but paperwork.
Coming up on America's Court.
As quickly as he made a phone call to Heather, he could have made a phone call to me.
That's true. Why didn't you call her?
She's not a dental professional.
And later.
You are a hot mess, and you can't get your life together.
Stop.
So
that's why we're here.
Closed captioning provided by. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. We're back with the case of Addison Mansell, who is suing Scott Mansell for medical expenses.
If he's having to assume responsibilities when you're not there, then he's already sometimes making decisions that you in your absence have said, I'm okay with that.
Right. I mean, but decisions like what are we going to eat for dinner? You know, where are we going to go for ice cream? You know, not medical, you know, necessities and medical decisions. And as quickly as he made a phone call to Heather, he could have made a phone call to me.
That's true. Why didn't you call her?
She's not a dental professional.
That's not the purpose for calling her.
But even if you get a dental professional's advice, you still have to check with the parent before you do anything. You were wrong.
I furthered my role as a parent guardian to this boy. Took it upon myself to contact a professional to make sure that there was no harm done.
Yes.
He wanted to make a viral video, Your Honor. You know, he wanted to be famous.
I did want to make a video.
Okay, now see, I was starting to move in your direction. Who was videotaping this?
Me, I set up a camera on a tripod.
So you want to be entertained in addition to being dad. Because even if you were the dad, you said, I'm like a father figure, I'm the only dads get in trouble for not consulting with moms too. Because it's co-parenting.
I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm just saying
I don't get that sense.
Okay.
But you're saying he's a little, you know, I'm gonna make a video. This is gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Let's snatch your tooth out with a car. The car wasn't moving fast, but the whole ideal of it was appealing to you. You're smiling right now, like yeah.
He could have gotten whiplash. You know.
Well, yeah, we can go down the list of things that could have happened. The reality is none of them happened. And what caused the initial loosening of the tooth? What did you do to him?
We were roughhousing. He hit his head on a wall.
Okay, so he is being a dad.
Right.
Okay, he is being a dad in that sense. Did you get a chance to see his mouth after the fact, Ms. James?
Yes, I did.
And what did you think?
Before and after.
And what did you think?
The tooth was out. Like, beforehand, you could...
Well, we know the tooth is out now, but when we talk about the bridge, the implant, the mouth guard, did it appear to you that those things were necessary?
From my experience, no.
Okay. And in this case, because those things were done, what's the status of his mouth, his teeth now?
Well, he looks like a fool, Your Honor. You know, if I didn't have that implant put in, he would just have a hole in the middle of his mouth.
Well, at some point the tooth's there was a baby tooth, right?
Right, but I mean, the adult tooth pushes it down, so when the baby teeth fall out, you know, you've got the adult teeth, you know, already coming in.
Right. But it takes, but I'm saying if he's 9, that tooth was going to come out anyway. It's not like it was a permanent tooth.
Right.
Somebody's got to pay this bill. You know your sister doesn't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
So who should pay it?
I don't think I should pay because the boy was in
I didn't ask you that. I said who should.
Be real.
I think because the visit was unnecessary, she should pay the cost.
Got it. Based on this information, judgment in the plaintiff in the amount of $1,450. That is the order. Case closed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All rise.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay $1,450.
It was really unfortunate that I had to bring my brother to court over my son, but now I think the judge has made my brother realize that it was ultimately his responsibility.
I understand the judge's decision, and I don't care about the money as long as I get to keep my nephew in my life.
And coming up on America's Court with Judge Ross.
This is our life story. This is how it's always been. I'm always there to catch her fall. I take care of her. This is what we do. We have a sister relationship. I'm the responsible one, always taking care of her, the irresponsible one.
I take care of her,
do
too. I take
everything
care of
for
her,
you.
too.
I do everything for you, and you're just a freaking hot mess. You are a hot mess.
Closed captioning provided by. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. Larissa Edmonds is suing Carrie Mills in the amount of $1,200. Ms. Edmonds claims that Ms. Mills uninvited her to a wedding after she paid for travel and a bridesmaid's dress. Ms. Mills claims the plaintiff was uninvited because she didn't fit into the bridesmaid dress.
All parties been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Deputy Thomas. Ms. Mills, we got a dress here, so we're
Yes,
going to talk
we do.
about this dress and why you deserve $1,200.
Yes.
What's the deal with the dress?
Well, I'm suing my ex-best friend for $1,200 because she kicked me out of her wedding on the day of because the dress busted open.
The dress busted open.
Mm-hmm.
Did you kick her out of the wedding party?
Yeah.
Yes.
But she did sign a contract saying if she didn't meet all the requirements that she wouldn't attend. So,
I'm sorry. She signed a contract to be in the wedding?
yes.
Is that what people are doing now? I've never heard of that.
Apparently.
What made you think of that?
I wanted everything in order, and certain things have happened in the past that made me want to create a contract.
Well, how many times have you been married?
Once.
Well, you said things have happened in the past.
That she has done. We've been best friends for 10 years.
How many women were part of your wedding bridal
7.
party?
7.
Did all 7 have to sign contracts?
Yes.
You had all 7 women sign a contract to be a bridesmaid.
Yes.
And what did the contract say?
It said a lot of things. It said you had to meet.
You have a copy of it?
I don't have it with me.
Okay.
But it's been through emails and.
What did it say?
It was ridiculous. We couldn't color our hair. We had to maintain our figures for months. We couldn't get pregnant. Like, that's not something you can control. You know, life happens.
Are you for real?
Not exactly in those words. They could color the hair naturally, but they couldn't use any specific like green or red.
No drastic change in hair. No drastic change in your appearance or weight.
Right, but after the alteration, so 3 weeks before the wedding,
I'm still
you
stuck on
have
the
to fit
contract.
into the dress.
We can't even get to the dress until I finish hearing about the contract. Was that it?
She had become a bridezilla, honestly.
Well, duh.
Yeah. She was stressing about every little detail.
What else was in the contract that you willingly, knowingly, and understandably signed? Because you signed it, right?
Yes, I did.
Did she say if you don't sign it, you're not in the wedding?
She didn't explicitly say it, but it was pretty understood that
It was stated in the contract that if you can't meet these requirements, you can't be in the wedding.
You're out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Coming up on America's Court.
This is our life story. This is how it's always been. I'm always there to catch her fall. I take care of her. This is what we do. We have a sister relationship. I'm the responsible one, always taking care of her, the irresponsible one.
I take care of her,
do
too. I take
everything
care of
for
her,
you.
Closed captioning provided by. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. We're back with the case of Larissa Edmonds, who is suing Carrie Mills for travel and wedding expenses.
What did she do that caused her to be kicked out of the wedding?
She busted open the dress that I had paid for.
You paid for the dress?
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, it is true.
All right. How much was the dress, the value?
$375.
All right. You're not suing to have the monies returned to you for the dress?
No, she's my friend. I would never do that to her.
Okay. That's funny. She doesn't have any problem doing it to you, though. So what's the $1,200 for?
It's for the hotel and a flight. I had to fly across the country to be at her wedding. And I had already made all the plans to be there.
I understand that, but what is really the reason why we're here?
Well, I don't mind spending money if it's for my friend, but since we're not friends anymore, I might as well get back what I lost.
Most of the time when people get married, there's a fitting, the dress, and everything's perfect, right? You go to the event, and while you're in the dress, so I take it at this point, you had taken pictures. Were you in the midst of doing all that? Because you have the dress on, right?
It was while we were getting ready for the wedding.
And while you were getting ready, so what happened? What caused the dress to, was it a malfunction on the manufacturer's part?
It was that she didn't try on the dress. Okay, I had all my bridesmaids get alterations prior to the wedding, and I asked them to try their dress on 3 days before the wedding. If they need any last-minute alterations to make sure that it fit perfect. There's no way you tried the dress on anywhere close to the wedding. There's no way you could gain that much weight in 3 days.
That dress has no give at all.
If you thought you would gain weight, ask to leave a little more room. These are things you tell the person who's altering your dress.
It did fit when I tried it on. She told me in front of everyone in the bridal party, Larissa, if you can't get your life together, you can't be in my wedding.
Well, what does her life have to do with it?
Because this is her life story. This is how it's always been. I'm always there to catch her fall. I take care of her. This is what we do. We have a sister relationship. I'm the responsible one, always taking care of her, the irresponsible one.
I take care of her, too.
I do everything for you. I do everything from you, and you're just a friggin' hot mess.
Judge Ross's verdict when America's Court returns. You're watching America's Court with Judge Ross. This is America's Court with Judge Ross.
I do everything from you, and you're just a friggin' hot mess. You are a hot mess, and you can't get your life together.
Stop.
So
that's why we're here. If the dress malfunctioned for whatever reason, and she's being anal about the whole endeavor, part of being a friend is saying, you know what, it's all about you. I don't want you stressing. I'll just sit down. I'll show you love from the audience.
And she didn't do that once. Every other bridesmaid did that but her. They all were there to support me.
She didn't lash out on any other bridesmaid.
Honestly, the worst part about this entire thing was when I bought the dress, you didn't even say thank you.
Well, maybe you just shouldn't have a relationship with her. But if you expect this court to pay you for doing what a friend would normally do, that's not going to happen. Your matter is dismissed. Case closed.
All rise.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim has been dismissed.
I'm happy with the ruling, but I have spent way too long taking care of Larissa. I'm done.
All I wanted was to support Carrie. Hopefully we can move on.
Follow America's Court on Facebook and Twitter. This has been a production of